I create things all the time. Usually something small like a page in my sketchbook or a lesson for a class that I'm teaching or a video for this YouTube channel or one of the essays that I write every week. But every year or so, I work on a big project. Previous projects like books or courses or a video series or learning some new skill in depth. Last year, my big project was publishing a book of essays, You Do You. And the project I just completed is an online course called The Creative License. And there's a big difference between working on a big project like this and the sort of creative work that I do every day. First off, a big project is, of course, bigger, but it also forces me into a mindset and behaviors that are just fundamentally different from the day-to-day. Some of that behavior seems to be necessary to manage a large, complicated project that has lots of moving parts, but a lot of those component parts are pretty similar to my day-to-day projects. A book really just consists of lots of smaller writing projects, and they're similar in scope to what I create for my essays, but assembling them and all those parts into a full-blown machine requires a different kind of thinking, a different type of psychology. Let me explain how that psychology manifests and what I think it's trying to achieve. The very first step of a big project is having the initial idea for what the project is going to be. For instance, I might decide it would be interesting to illustrate and curate my essays into a book form, or that I want to teach a course on how to create an illustrated memoir. Now, I have ideas like this all the time, but only a few of them ever actually get completed. And I have to sort of assess if this raw idea is something that I want to devote several months of my life to bringing to fruition. Over the next few weeks, I work hard, but often pointlessly. It's like buying a brand new car and then sitting down and reading the manual cover to cover and discussing it with the neighbors and washing it and waxing it, but not actually driving anywhere. I spent a lot of time gathering bits and pieces under the guise that these are the essential raw materials to create the project. I'll go through my endless folders of ideas, and I'll flip through every single page of all of my hundreds of sketchbooks. I'll note down ideas and sub-ideas and ideas within sub-ideas. I'll wake up in the middle of the night thinking of problems that might maybe possibly arise and that I have to solve before I can begin real work. And sometimes those problems will force me out of bed to sit and to make lists at my desk and spend an hour or two writing down stuff that the light of day is going to reveal is basically worthless. And next, I work on structuring all these piles of ideas and sketches and notes into various outlines. And then I remake those outlines in libraries in different forms. For instance, I started working on this year's course by arranging folders of text blocks and images on my computer. And then I filled the pages of a small notebook with writing and sketches and outlines. And next I got a larger composition notebook and I carved up the outline into individual pages, and each page was devoted to a single chapter or a lesson so that I could flip back and forth through the whole structure. And then I transferred all that information back into my computer, and I built a complicated database to organize all the notes that I had so far. And then I spent hours moving all these component parts around the screen. If that seems unnecessarily complicated, that's because it is. What I'm doing isn't entirely about organizing or structuring or seeing the big picture, although that's a part of it. What I'm really working on so hard is procrastinating. Procrastination, the tardy stepchild of perfectionism, is creating the illusion of progress and the appearance of activity without actually making anything that moves the project off the launch pad and into the realm of the unknown. Sometimes I get irritated with myself that this is my process, that I'm spending days and days moving index cards around and wandering down internet rabbit holes after information that's never going to make it to the final product. But this isn't really laziness. It's fear. The perfectionist brand of fear, that if I start making things without huge amounts of preparation, the results are going to be less than. Or if I find myself in the great unknown where things are scary and threatening, instead of staying in the safe, cozy realm of libraries and catalogs and checklists, or even scarier, if I start making, I'll discover that I'm incapable of making what I planned, and that it would be better to just endlessly prepare, wool gathering, rather than face planting. I have manuscripts for at least a half a dozen books that withered during this particular stage of the process, and they're never going to be publishable. Books that were easy to research, but harder to start to write. I can't say that I couldn't have written them, and even written them well, but the monkey in my head did. He blocked the doorway to the writing room, and he kept sending me back to the library to look for more. I've come to acknowledge that this is just how I make things. I need to go through these steps in order to get to the finished product, because this stage that seems like time-wasting peregrination is in fact incubation. The recesses of my mind are chomping on all those index cards, absorbing information, processing, assembling the rich broth of inspiration that's deep within me. They're giving me confidence, the most essential ingredient in my creative process, the confidence that I'm allowed to finally sit down to write or to film or to draw, the confidence that says, I can do this. I don't need to wait any longer. I can finally just jump in and begin. I don't have this level of anxiety when I work on my small projects because there's not that much at stake. If I write a mediocre essay one week, I'll write a better one the week after. Shit happens. I don't have that much to lose if one page in my sketchbook is crummy or one video I make on YouTube doesn't go viral. But the anxiety that a giant project engenders is a function of the expectations that I have fabricated, that I will fall on my face on a giant stage, as opposed to the easier, smaller roles that I normally play. I've had two key insights that help me to transition out of this preparation stage. One of them is that despite all of my hesitation, working on a big project is basically just working on a lot of little projects, eating the whale one spoonful at a time. It's doable once I let myself begin. And the other is to remember why I'm doing this. It's not to achieve perfection and to mollify that voice in my head. It's to help hundreds, maybe thousands of people to learn to draw, to express themselves creatively, to hold a book that's going to bring them pleasure and give them confidence and help them to take the next step. It's a service to them. And realizing that I'm not doing this for me, I'm doing it for others, has been really important. Other people who aren't harsh critics and skeptical judges, but they're eager participants and collaborators. The more that I delay the completion of the project, the longer I delay them from starting their own valuable creative projects. I owe it to them to just get on with it. I feel able to share this self-analysis with you because I just got through this whole process of developing my new course and went through this research stage and was finally able to merrily churn out video lessons like a well-oiled machine. I was done writing lists and notes and filling databases, and instead I finally give myself permission to teach lessons and to do demonstrations and to frankly have a ball. These days, I bound out of bed with a dawn, and I can't wait to get to work on helping people through this course. And this video that I'm making for you today is going to become a useful tool for future me. The next time I work on a big project, it's going to serve as a reminder that my preparation stage, it's just a normal prelude to building the building. It's the necessary foundation of the project, but also of my mindset, of the giant pile of stuff that I can dump on top of that monkey in my head, and I can bury him for long enough to get down to the real work. I hope you found this helpful. And if you did, sign up for my free essays. I'll send you great advice like this every week. And subscribe to this channel. I put out new videos every week. And next, watch this.